Hello literature connoisseurs. Let's begin chapter 21 of Left Behind. The chapter begins with Buck and Chloe meeting back up with Rayford and Hattie. Buck notices that Hattie had been crying. This seems odd because after she cried with Rayford's nonsense about not being phony anymore. She went to the bathroom to clean up, then when she returns she gets into a discussion about Rayford's beliefs. So despite all that she still appeared as if she was crying. Buck wants to begin his interview but has mixed feelings about it. Because Rayford was the pilot of the plane he was on when the disappearances happened, he feels this will create unnecessary drama. Not sure why that should even matter or why it creates any drama whatsoever. This just appears to be more sloppy writing by the authors. The group separates as they get ready for dinner that evening, and Buck returns to his hotel room to shower and answer a call from the owner of the newspaper. He gets told that he needs to hire a new supervisor for the Chicago office. This seems odd because Buck was promoted as supervisor of the New York office, but it was never mentioned that he has to supervise all the district branches. If anything, the owner should be doing the hiring, but we learn that the owner is lazy and expects Buck to do his job. They rehash the plans of Nikolai Carpathia and learn that everything is supposed to happen in the morning. Nothing new or interesting here, but the same old same old. Just keep beating that dead horse, guys. Buck calls to arrange a flight to Chicago and he finds out that Rayford and Chloe will be on the flight. He learns a seat next to Chloe is open and he maneuvers to fill in that vacancy. He decides to keep that secret for some reason from them. Scene changes to Rayford as he lets his ego soar as he tells himself that he did an excellent job telling his beliefs to Hattie. He believes he was absolutely sincere and truthful, as if that even matters. No matter how sincere he thinks he is. It doesn't matter because it does not prove his beliefs are correct. Lots of cults think they are sincere, but that does not mean they are right. You can be the most sincere person in the world, but when you tell someone that they need to drink poison so space aliens can take them to heaven, doesn't mean that your sincerity amounts for nothing other than being a tool of con artists. The authors are admitting that to be a Christian is to be a con artist in order to sell the snake oil of the Bible. Hattie made a condescending remark as she pats his hand and says it's sweet that he believes in the nonsense he does. Rayford tries to work up the nerve to explain things in the same way to Buck as he did Hattie. The group gets dressed in their best attire for the 5-star restaurant they attend. Rayford has to bribe the waiter in order to get a private table so he can preach. Buck stares at Chloe and Rayford wonders what he thinks of her. He dismisses this, thinking that Buck is too old for her. He does get jealous that Buck is spending his time looking at Chloe and not paying any attention to Hattie. Once dinner ends, Buck begins the interview, but before it begins Hattie and Chloe excuse themselves. Rayford gets mad that he can't spew his rhetoric at Chloe because he has it in his head that he must force her to make a choice to either believe him or reject him. Rayford begins by lying to Buck as he claims he is technology-minded, but the truth is he is anything but. Buck asks if they had planned it for the ladies to leave so that the two of them are alone, and Rayford denies it. At least on his end. Buck prides himself on being an excellent interviewer, but he is anything but. He is as gullible as Rayford because after hearing the long boring story he buys into the idea. Rayford tells his story and Buck proves gullible because he believes it instantly. He listens spellbound by the tale. Supposedly Rayford backs up what he has to say with verses from the Bible. Which is bullshit because there are no verses, as we have previously discussed, that match what he proposes. The topic switches to the two witnesses and how they fulfill prophecy 100%. Remembering that they were written not in any way as the Bible supposedly predicts. We get told religious fanatics are flocking to see them at the Wailing Wall. To hear them preach. We get told that this fulfills prophecy again, but that is a lie. There is nothing recorded in the Bible about who will convert by their preaching. The authors claim they are beginning to convert the 144,000, but the book of Revelations never stated what or who converted them. They are just putting in their own opinions here. The authors are taking extreme creative license. What becomes sad is that even with their Bibles within arm's reach, when they try to make their story fulfill prophecy, they seem too embarrassed to make the story fit what the Bible says exactly. When talking about these two witnesses, the Bible says that they will spit fire from their mouths to kill their attackers. The authors change this to the attackers having heart attacks, and it gets mentioned that Orthodox guards at the Wailing Wall are stepping in to defend the witnesses. More proof how fake the Bible is that even believing Christians don't believe it's real. Buck thinks it's amazing because it seems, to him, to be the only theory that fits what's going on. This makes no sense whatsoever. Buck does admit to himself that he only believes in Rayford's explanation because he wants to believe in it. He wants a simple explanation that makes sense to him that he can use to fit what is going on. The only trouble he has with this is the part of Nikolai being the Antichrist, because he still wants to believe Nikolai is a good guy. Rayford, being an excellent judge in all things, thinks that Buck isn't buying the bullshit he's spewing. Buck ends the interview by making an outlandish claim that he will let Rayford read his article before he publishes it. Buck sees the girls return and they look as if they have been crying, and Buck wants to find a private place to cry. With both Hattie and Chloe looking like they were crying, we are not told what they were talking about that made them cry. More than likely it was Rayford's speech about not being phony that made Hattie cry the first time. Not sure why they feel this overwhelming dread that they are living phony lives, but then the authors really don't make sense at all. The group separates with uninteresting conversation, but it hints at what will be happening in the next chapter. This ends chapter 21 of Left Behind. See you next time for chapter 22.